She's the first woman and Asian in history to be elected as a senior fellow, the highest elected technical title of Texas Instruments, one of the 3 oldest technology corporations of the United States. She has accumulated 24 patents, including 4 pioneering ones in the U.S., playing an utmost important part in developing memory capacity of modern PCs. She's also considered as one of the 10 best speakers in the U.S., delivering speeches in prestigious universities and big corporations for the past 20 years. She is Duy Loan, a highly accomplished semiconductor industry expert and technology consultant who has tremendous pride in her heritage, Vietnam.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Talk Vietnam. The woman you've just met in the previous clip is a Vietnamese-American engineer who has had an exceptional career that it's hard to imagine her humble beginnings. She came to the United States at the age of 12 and her family barely had anything, but she went on to have incredible success in her field and more than that, to help others as well. And what is most important about her journey is her connection to her roots of being Vietnamese. Well, very lucky now to have on our Talk Vietnam show this time, Ms. Duy Loan. Thank you very much, Ms. Duy Loan, for joining us here on Talk Vietnam.
Sure.
Now, first of all, I want to go back a little bit and talk about, your successful path so far, your successful career. Would you say there are some core values behind this success?
You know, as you know, I work in a very male-dominated industry, high-tech industry. I started 35 years ago. 35 years later, nothing has changed a whole lot. It's still very, being a woman, being a non-American woman from an Asian background is very male-dominated. So I think as far as the core values or the things that drive me in order to break the glass ceiling, not in one company, but in multiple companies that I engage with, probably number one is the work ethics, the incredible work ethics that the Asian culture is known for, right? And then the second thing I probably would say is and this might be very uniquely me, and that is the inner confidence that I can overcome anything if I work hard enough, if I treat people right along the way. So that the inner confidence is based on that. And then the third thing I would say is probably the uncompromising pride in my heritage. Yes. Whatever I do, I know that it would reflect on the country where I was born. Whatever I do, I know that people will look at that and judge who is this girl, still yellow skin, still black hair, right? So that pride in my heritage drives me to do anything my name is associated with in terms of excellence. And when you do something with excellence and with passion, it produces result. And result, of course, brings success. So I think those 3 things are probably the main reason.
Yes, exactly. Now, you mentioned your heritage as being a driving force in your career and your success and your efforts.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning, your roots in Vietnam. Do you remember your childhood?
Oh, I have lived life, and I'm sure that similar to you, certain things in your life, certain moments, certain events, you cannot forget it. I was very lucky to have been born in Vietnam. And the first 12 years of my life in Vietnam shaped pretty much who I am. Probably the most memorable moment is the day I was just finishing the test after 5th grade. In order to get to the public school, you have to really do well on the test, right? So my father literally dropped everything, and for that summer he watched over me to make sure that I studied. And then the day I took the test, every day he would stand outside waiting for me to come out, right? And he would say, sao con làm được không?
How did you
meaning,
do?
How did you do? So I think that always very much has always been with me. And the message there is education is important. Education is what allows you to break the cycle of poverty. So I think that's probably the thing that stuck in my head forever. Here it is. He's busy. He's trying to make a living, and he dropped everything. He came home and watched over you, so you better do well.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
And there's this sense of, you know, parenting in the sense that you whatever you're doing, it's not as important as your child's future education.
Absolutely. Our country is not the most prosperous country. And so education plays an even more important role because the parents live through poverty and they don't want that for their children. And they know that the only way to break out of that is education.
Education,
right?
exactly.
Born in 1962 in Vietnam, Duy Loan is the seventh child in a family of 6 daughters and 3 sons. Raising his daughters in a country where often only sons receive higher education, Mr. Lay dreamed big and told his 6-year-old daughter, Duy Loan, you will be an engineer while your 2 older sisters will be a doctor and a lawyer. Duy Loan studied hard and graduated second from her elementary school, Win Binh Kim, in 1973. Coming to the U.S. at the age of 12, Duy Loan taught herself English at night after the rest of the family had gone to bed. And she worked diligently on her studies and to acclimate to a culture that was quite different from that of Vietnam.
Tell us about, you know, your first years going to school in this completely new country.
Oh, that was fun year and also sad years. I was fluent in French. I kept a diary in French when I was in Vietnam, but I didn't even know what no or yes mean.
Yes, exactly.
Nothing in English. But I went to school. I dropped out 2 grades. I just almost finished 7th grade at the famous Duy Loan school.
Yes.
Okay, and because I couldn't speak a word of English, we decided, okay, you have to drop out so that you can mingle with little kids and learn English better.
Yeah.
So I dropped out 2 grades, and the first few 6 weeks in America, the grades are based on every 6 weeks.
Yes.
And there was no grade, no ability to grade anything because I couldn't do anything. But math and art were good. That was really good, right? And then at the end of the last 6 weeks period, I got all A's.
Oh.
Okay, so I was very proud. So I went up to my teacher and said, Mrs. Perkins, now that I got all A's, can I skip to 9th grade, which is where I should be, I was in Vietnam. And Mrs. Perkins looked at me, and I guess her facial expression is, you gotta be kidding me, right? Because in 9th grade, you have to start studying Juliet, Romeo and Juliet. And literature is very difficult, right? I don't think so. I don't think you can make it, right? But boy, when you want something, you figure it out. We went to a second school where there's the 1st grade, the high school, and say, okay, we've been in America for a year learning English. And if we were in Vietnam, we would be in 9th grade.
Yes.
So they sort of testing my English, and it was still very weak, you know, very, very weak. And they gave me a condition. If you can do well, okay, then you can stay. But if after 6 weeks your English is still not good, then you're gonna have to go down.
Back to 7th grade.
Boy, talking about working hard. I think I worked my butt off. Pardon the language. Yes. I worked myself off. I worked so hard.
You had motivation.
Motivation. And I eventually finished 9th grade all A's. Okay, and then I think halfway through that, the teacher asked me to teach the class in physics, in chemistry, and so on.
Yes.
And so after that, then I just went on and I skipped a few more grades and I graduated at 16.
Yes, exactly. How was it graduating at 16? I mean, going from a point where you were pushed back 2 years to the point where you're graduating 2 years before the entire class.
You know, the surprising thing to you is I don't think my mom had any idea whether I was doing good in school or not, because she was too busy herself, right? Trying to find work, making a living, learning English. You think it was hard for me. Think about how hard it is for the older generation. And especially she didn't have her husband, her older son either, right? So on the day of graduation, I said, Mom, tonight or tomorrow night, the next day, I need you to take off from work, right? What for? I say, to attend my graduation.
And she didn't even know that you were going to graduate.
I think on the night of the graduation, I was in front of 3,000. We did it in the open sky. 3,000 people, students and the parents and the grandparents and all of that. When I got up on the stage, I think, and delivered a valedictorian speech.
Yes.
That's when she knew I think I graduated at the top of my class.
Yes.
So I think it was really a moment of pride. A moment of pride in the sense that I've been able to overcome. I've been able to bring honor to the family. I've been able to bring honor my father's wish and importance of education. And I was proud to be Vietnamese American.
Starting her first professional job in 1982 at Texas Instruments, or TI, as a memory design engineer, Duy Loan was assigned to increasingly difficult tasks, leading to her promotion as design manager 7 years later. She was responsible for bringing up the multi-billion-dollar memory product line with joint venture partners in 5 countries and 3 continents for the first time in TI's history. In 2002, she was nominated and elected to the 5th rung of the technical ladder, Senior Fellow, becoming the first Asian, the first woman, and one of the youngest individuals in TI's 75-year history to be nominated and elected to the rank of TI Senior Fellow.
So now I understand that you began your first real job at Texas Instruments at the age of 19. Tell us about that beginning.
The first years there was, I have to say, it was hard. TI is known in the industry as the training institute, meaning you get in there, the pace is intense, and the complexity of the work is huge because TI is known to invent many things, right? It was really long hours, but the people I work with are outstanding engineers, outstanding bosses. I have never reported to a woman, and all of my colleagues are mostly men, and I'm very fortunate they have treated me with tremendous respect. I still remember the CEO and the chairman and president of TI once told me, Duy Loan, his name is Mr. Tom Enchabas, Duy Loan, you are completely hopeless. You talk to me the way you talk to other people. I say, yes, I would treat you the same way I treat the lower engineer, right? But in return, I give TI everything I got. It is truly my first love. And TI, in return, has given me complete autonomy to do what I want, complete trust in my ability, and respect my point of views. And many things that I did at TI would not be tolerated at other companies. There's no way, right? But life is always give and take.
Yes. Throughout that process, what do you think helped you in the process of becoming, working really hard and eventually achieving that at such a young age?
I think back to the point of work ethics. I think I would rather take an average person, but who has incredible work ethics. I would hire a person like that over a person who's super intelligent,
but doesn't have
work ethics, right? That's one. Second thing, I think you have to be able to treat people right along the way, right? I remember when I sent my son back to Vietnam for the first time, one of the things I set him down, he was 10. I said, you're gonna go back and find your roots. And second, son, don't think for one moment that you are any better or any smarter or any higher class than the kids in Vietnam. Do not even think about that. And number 3 is mingle with people and treat people right. So I think the ability to treat my friends right, the ability to work hard, and then the inner confidence and that pride in my heritage, that I am not gonna humiliate my family, I'm not gonna humiliate my country, I'm gonna prove to these Americans and the Vietnamese people are just as smart or as good, whatever that you call that.
You already had those thoughts at like 12 or 13 years old.
I was determined. I was determined, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Besides a successful career, Duy Loan remains firmly committed to the development and well-being of her 2 sons, Duy Loan and Duy Loan. They were not given a separate Vietnamese name and American name like many others, but instead only one name that shares the same spelling and phonetic sound in both languages. According to Duy Loan, they must learn to combine the core values of their Vietnamese heritage with the goodness of the American culture and be able to feel a true sense of belonging in both worlds.
Talking about your sons, throughout the years, how did you help them to be more in touch with their roots from a young age, teaching them about the language, the culture? Obviously, it helps that both you and your husband are Vietnamese.
It does help a lot. I was determined that this is one job that you will not fail. Doesn't really matter how many more recognitions, how many more patents I get, how many more multi-billion-dollar projects I handle. If I mess up this part of my life,
It doesn't
concerning
matter.
my children, then I have failed miserably in life. So let's start with that conviction, that sheer determination that I will not mess this up. Now, what is the definition of messing it up? This is not about raising children who are going to be up there making a lot of money and having the greatest title. It's not about that. How do I raise my kids to be both Vietnamese and American, not one or the other? How do I do that? That's one angle of definition of success. Second is, how do I raise human beings who are going to be so successful in life? But that part of definition of success is to also be able to give back.
Yes.
You do well so that you can do good. That's the second part, angle of that definition of success. And the third thing that is part of my definition of success is to how do I give them a life that they can be happy doing what they want.
Yes.
Right? So those are the three components. And hopefully you understand. I was trying to, if you raise kids who are good students, that's one thing, but trying to achieve all three goals was not easy.
It's challenging.
It is
It's
extremely
raising a
challenging.
human being.
It is probably the one part that has aged my hair. Big time. Big
Yes,
time.
and with two boys, I think
two
that
boys.
becomes even more challenging. One aspect, in terms of Vietnamese, for example, let's take the Vietnamese language.
Yeah.
How did you teach your children language at such a young age, and still at the same time they were immersed in obviously an English-speaking environment?
Yeah. So I think, every situation, the family is different. In my case, I sleep on the average 3 or 4 hours a night for 40 years. I don't have time. I cannot invent time. So I have to create time. And creating time, meaning you take something that takes 6 hours to do and you do it in 60 minutes, for example. That's one way to create time. The second way to create time is you buy time with money, right? So to create time for myself in that department, I actually taught my son Vietnamese myself.
Yes.
15 minutes here, 20 minutes there. The goal is not to make them become people who speak literature. It's more or less conversational Vietnamese. That's one. Second, it cannot just be about speaking. They have to be able to read, and they have to be able to write. Now, they might write with grammatical errors. Dấu hỏi, dấu ngã. I could not even differentiate the two myself, okay? But they will write enough so that other people who read it can understand what they're writing. And they will never be able to read as well as I can. But the goal is to give them a foundation, speaking, reading, and writing, so that one day when they are older, if they want to improve, advance, they have the basis, the basic knowledge and the basis to build upon that. So I taught them Vietnamese. And to you, I cannot be prouder. You know why? Every single card that my son gives me, Valentine, Mother's Day, Christmas, New Year, is handmade by them. And one side is always in Vietnamese and one side is in English, their handwriting.
That's very sweet.
Right? And I cannot be prouder when my father celebrated his 90th birthday, and my son was not the eldest grandson, but he was voted by all of his cousins to represent them and address the 300 guests in Vietnamese.
Wow.
And my father was very emotionally touched, very
Yes.
emotionally touched.
Yes.
You cannot go places unless you remember where you come from. When my first son came to Vietnam for the first time, he was 10. You're talking about 14 years ago. The condition was not safe from a hygiene perspective, from a communication perspective, but the boy did great. Then when he came back, I asked him to write an essay. And he asked for permission to write in English so that he can he can write and articulate himself much better. I said, sure. And some of the things he said in that essay just stunned me, especially the last part of the saying. And I was in a different town when I read that, and I literally choked up. He wrote something to the effect that as I stand there for the first time looking at Vietnam, I know why Sunflower Mission does what it does, and I know what I can do to help. And I also feel like I belong here. Mm. Here's a 10-year-old, never set foot in Vietnam, raised in, he's been pampered and taken care of very well in America. And yes, he feels a connection to the kids to Vietnam. That is probably one of my most proudest moments in my life, that yes, thank God, 10 years, he feels a connection.
You did not mess up.
Yeah, no, thank God for that.
Bạn hãy nói cho tôi biết chăng về họ tên mà tôi đã mang, về miền quê mà tôi ngày đêm luôn nhớ mong. Lòng tôi mong biết đất nước đã có bao đời, được nhìn bằng đôi mắt của mình, được trở về cội nguồn của tôi.
Hiểu được cái làng, cái xã, cái cây dừa, cái miếng ruộng nó như thế nào thì mới cảm thông được, mới bắt đầu yêu được cái cảnh quê, yêu được cái làng, cái xóm. Từ đó nó mới thể nảy nở được cái tình yêu dân tộc, yêu con người Việt Nam thì mới yêu được mảnh đất Việt Nam.
Ước mơ về thăm chốn thiêng, mong sao quê hương giang tay đón tôi, mong ước đến ngày trở về, lòng tôi yêu mến Việt Nam.
You once said that I've loved my country ever since I was born.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that? Do you think that person can be, born knowing that they are truly connected to their heritage, even though probably they weren't even born there?
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard when you were not born in a country. How do you love that country? So that's the challenge with my sons and with other people in America. So the only way I can give them that connection is I need to create a way to bring them back and let them connect themselves. I only live in Vietnam for 12 years, right? I think, but the first 12 years is really important to you, right? I can still choke up when listening to a Vietnamese song, even though I don't have a chance to grow up like other people in Vietnam. I can still choke up when I read something in a book, right? And to you, all I really want is my country to be better, for the students over here to be better, and for my country to be respected in the world. That's it. And I want people to understand the impact of humanity. You understand what I'm saying? That's all I want for Vietnam. So if you ask me what do I want, that's what I really want.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It all comes from this love that
Yeah.
you grew up with.
Yeah.
What would you say to the generation, the future generation that will hopefully make that happen? Vietnamese students out there, not only in Vietnam, but also all over the world, trying to bring pride, but also success, or also a sense of achievement attached to the name Vietnam.
Yeah. Success for yourself is fantastic. Everybody wants it. I certainly want it. However, true success is not about yourself. True success is how do you help other people to succeed as well, right? So I would say to the people, to the younger generation, is measure the success by that matrix. How many people do you help along the way? Don't give them a handout. How do you enable them to succeed? That's
Yes.
one thing I would say. The second thing I would say to them is always question why.
Yes.
Why is it this way? Why can it be another way? Right? George Bernard Shaw is an old person who used to say, dream of things that never were.
Yes.
And I always want to tell my friends, okay, that's great, but always have the audacity to believe that they are. That goes back to the conviction to believe.
It's true. And I thank you so much for coming onto our show and sharing that conviction of yours. And I wish you all the best of luck.
No, thank you for having me and making time. And I wish you success.
Thank you. And that has also wrapped up this edition, this very inspiring edition to myself, and I hope to you, with Duy Loan and her wonderful story and her sunflower mission about helping others and inspiring others to succeed and impact community and help others on the way. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you more next time here in Talk Vietnam. Goodbye for now.